Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Pga Sports Talk. I'm Brandon Schiffman.
And I'm Spencer Stein. Only got a few episodes left. Everything in the sports world seems to be winding down. The NHL and NBA playoffs are coming to a close, but we do have a lot to talk about in the NFL, MLB, even some golfs and tennis. So we'll get to all of that. Sorry we haven't recorded in about a week and a half, but we only got a few episodes left, so we're going to make them count. Brandon, let's start with the NBA. Warriors, Mavericks are in the Western Conference Finals, Celtics, Heat in the East. Last time we left off, we were going into Game 7 of Mavs Suns, so I want you to talk about that before we get into Mavs Warriors.
Yeah, so the Suns got absolutely dominated in that game. We saw a historically bad playoff performance and just performance overall by not only Devin Booker, but also by Chris Paul.
Basically everyone on the Suns.
They had, I want to say, 27 points in the first half, which was equal to as many points as Luka Doncic had in the first half. And I just want to say, this was a team that going into the year, I don't want to say it was heavily favorited, but they were at least had the second best odds, to my knowledge, to win the title. This was a team that people really believed in, and somewhere along the line, everything unwound for them, and I think it has huge implications on Chris Paul's legacy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that his, Patrick Beverley called him a cone.
Yeah.
I think the cone is going to stick with Chris Paul's legacy, and this playoff performance is definitely adding to the fact that he can't perform in the playoffs. Everyone says that. I've always thought, it's kind of true. There's always been better competition. This year kind of proved that.
For sure.
Let's get into this year. And also the Mavericks played well, but I think for a team to win by that much, the other team really has to fall apart on all cylinders.
Very bad.
And it was in Phoenix. That's just embarrassing, period.
For sure.
I want to talk about the current series. Warriors are up 3-1. They had a 3-0 lead, but Luka's been going off. Luka's been going off even in the losses.
For sure.
So what do you have to say about this series that the Warriors are still pretty dominant despite Luka averaging at 36?
So I thought the Warriors were going to sweep this series coming into Game 4, and Luka Doncic had other plans. And to be honest with you, he's basically had other plans for the entirety of the playoffs. In the first round, I'll admit my fault. I said it doesn't matter how many 30-point games they have, they're going to lose the series. They won that series. Then I said the Suns are winning this easily. They beat the Suns. The Mavericks are on a mission right now to prove everyone in the league wrong. And do I think they're going to win the series? Probably not, because statistically the odds are low of them coming back from 3-0. But Luka Doncic has earned his respect as, a top 3, top 4 player in the NBA?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's he's definitely earned his spot in that top area. And last week, before Game 7, I said the Mavericks aren't legit. And I don't care if they win or not, they're not legit. And the first round, good win. Second round, Suns fell apart. Here they're going to lose in 5 tonight to Golden State. Not bad by any means. This team is good.
Huge win.
Proven a lot. Huge win. And all that matters for the Mavericks organizationally is that Jalen Brunson has emerged as a starting point guard. And Luka Doncic has fully emerged as a top 5 player in this NBA. That's all they need. I still think they're a long ways away from being in that top tier of teams. But they have proven so much. And Luka Doncic has proven that he could be the best player in the world.
Yeah, and due to the fact that they're in a somewhat smaller market, you look at the Mavericks, their most famous player of all time is Dirk Nowitzki. They've never had a quote-unquote super team, really.
Yeah.
They're going to need to build this up brick by brick, but around Luka, there are very few people in the league I have more faith in than Luka to build a franchise around.
I definitely agree with that. I want to move to the East, because honestly I've been more interested in the East all playoffs long. Celtics are up 3-2 on the Heat, and both teams are evenly matched. The series odds for this were neck and neck before last game. And yet, I think every game has been a blowout.
Sure.
I think before last night's game, 70% of the time, one team was up by double digits. And in game 3 and 4, the Heat and Celtics won wire-to-wire respectively. That means one of the teams did not lead the entire game. And I think we've had 3 lead changes in the whole entire series. 3 lead changes in 5 games. So, despite the blowouts, and by the way, there's been a lot of blowouts in the NBA playoffs as a whole, which I think's made it kind of boring. I want you to talk to me about this series. What have you seen from both teams? What are your thoughts?
So overall, the thing I'm noticing the most is just the Celtics. Whenever the Heat throws something at them, the Celtics are able to adapt and not only bounce back with something greater, but they're able to almost take in what they learned from the Heat and just become better as a team. They're improving at a rate unlike any team I've seen. And this isn't just during the Heat series. This has been throughout the playoffs. Whenever they're tested with something, it's almost like another attribute that they add to themselves. And I think overall they've looked great this series. But I wouldn't count out the Heat just yet.
I would.
The Heat have some weapons, and I think their biggest flaw right now has been not only that they're hurt, but only one person seems to show up every single game. If they can get more than one person to show up, whether it's Jimmy, Bam, Kyle Lowry, if Tyler Hero comes back, they just need more than one person to have a good game on any given night. Because it feels like on any given night, it's just one guy, and it can't be like that against a team as good as the Celtics.
So I think you're wrong about saying they're losing because of the injuries. Both teams are injured. Marcus Smart has missed 2 games this series. Robert Williams has missed a game, and he's been injured for another. And what I've taken away is that the Celtics want it more. The team with more injuries seems to lose each game in the series. For instance, when Jimmy Butler left the game, they got blown out. Yep. When Marcus Smart didn't play, the Celtics lost. And it's kind of been neck and neck in that. But the Celtics players are playing through injuries. I think we have to give mad props to Marcus Smart and Robert Williams playing with the injuries. Yep. And they're still playing well with them, fighting through it. The Celtics won it. You see Tyler Hero with this minor injury. They're saying 2 to 4 weeks it would be. I know that players in the playoffs, historically, have played hurt, very hurt, more than Tyler Hero. And he was not showing up like he was in the regular season before he got hurt. And now that he is hurt, he's starting to miss time. And I know a lot of people are putting it on the line for the Heat, especially Jimmy Butler, who is hurt. And you could see in Game 5 that he was playing hurt. But I think the Celtics want it more, and I think they're playing through these injuries, and they're showing that they're more worthy. And these games have been mostly blowouts because one team is injured, they're broken, and the other team comes out firing, and then they lose.
It is, but I think largely mental too, though. I like how you said that. Yeah. It does feel like there are times when I'm watching the Heat play, and it does feel like not that the effort isn't there, but that there's almost like a mental block. Yeah, it's like, especially with Bam. Mm-hmm. Like, Bam has either played insanely well or horribly. And Kyle Lowry's been hurt too. Last night he had 0 points. Like, I don't know if Kyle Lowry cares about this team as much as he did in Toronto. Yeah. And I just think that I'm not going to fault the Heat for these injuries. I'm not going to say, oh, all these guys could be playing 100%, they don't want to. That's not what I'm saying. I just think the Celtics are willing to play harder through injury, especially with Robert Williams and Marcus Smart. You see guys like Grant Williams stepping up. Jaylen Brown had a great game last night. Jason Tatum's the best player in this series. I think the Celtics, no doubt, are going to be taking it in 6. They're going to win Game 6 in the Garden, and it's going to be another blowout. I really hope, for the sake of the Heat, though, I think Spoelstra's a great coach. I think he's been a great coach throughout his time with the Heat. I think he could potentially put something together. I really do. I have a lot. He's one of the best coaches in the league. I think it's pretty commonly regarded amongst NBA fans. I think that there's a chance that the Heat do come back in this series. I'm just saying the odds aren't great right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just disappointed in Tyler Hero's play, honestly. And they even had to bring Duncan. And now Duncan's playing well because he has a sense of urgency. So Spoelstra really needs to give that sense of urgency. Yeah. Let's move on to the better playoffs. How about this? I think the NHL playoffs have been much better than the NBA playoffs, no doubt. I'm actually more excited about them. And for the NHL playoffs, we're going to bring in our friend. He's our college basketball analyst, but he knows a lot about hockey too, Luke Parr. You could join us right here. And we're going to start with talking about Lightning and the Panthers, the one series that's over already. So, Brandon, I'll start with you. Lightning beat the Panthers 4-0. Panthers won the President's Trophy. Good Lightning or bad Panthers in that sweep?
I think it was more so good Lightning. They really defied a team that was great throughout the entire regular season. They really just showed that they deserved to be here despite their victories in the past.
Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, going into the playoffs, I really thought the Panthers could win it all. I think they were looking like a great team, won the Presidents, and I mean, they were just looking like a solid squad. But these Lightning, man, Lightning are insane. They had a strong, hard-fought series versus the Leafs. You know, they played hard. They won that out in 7, and then they just come and sweep the President's Cup winners. I mean, that's crazy to me. I think the Lightning have a real case for winning it all this year.
Yeah, I think I had the Lightning in the series just because I've doubted the Panthers all year. I make sure not to pick both President's Trophies winners to go to the Cup, or both Conference 1 seeds go to the Cup, and I had the Avalanche, so I was not taking the Panthers. I think this is actually more bad Panthers. The Lightning are good. We know they're good. We know Andrei Vasilevsky's probably the best goaltender in hockey, and they proved a lot by beating the Leafs in 7. The Panthers are a team that could have put up a fight, and they kind of backed down. Jonathan Huberdeau underwhelmed me. He's the best player, one of the best players in the regular season this year. I thought he was in contention for MVP, and although the Lightning are good, and I expect the Lightning to beat them playing at their best, I don't expect the Panthers to get swept.
For sure, I completely agree. I think that the Lightning put the league on notice with this one though, because their win against the Leafs was good, but it took them 7, and they decided, I think, coming into this Panthers series, that this was their time to just put everyone on notice.
I mean, I think the league's been on notice. They're 2-time defending champs, but we'll see how far it gets them. I'm still not picking them to win the Cup. I just don't think the three-peat is in the cards. Let's talk about the other Eastern series, the one that's been more interesting. Rangers, Hurricanes, 2-2. Interesting note, the Hurricanes have not lost a game at home in all these playoffs, and they've not won a game on the road. That trend was very prevalent through the Bruins series, and it's still continuing 4 games into the Rangers series. Luke, do you think the Canes are going to win a game on the road or lose one at home, or is it going to stay the same?
I mean, that's what I was going to say. In this series, every win has been by the home team, so if that trend continues, I could very likely see the Canes winning. But I mean, I don't know. The Rangers are a hot team. They won the last two. They're looking really good out there. So, I mean, I think this series is a coin flip, but I think I'm going to have to give the Canes the edge just because they're so dominant at home this playoffs.
And I want to ask you a question about the goaltending, because in this series, the goaltending has been especially dominant. Each game, one of the teams has been held under one goal. So, which goaltender do you think is better, and do you think that team's going to win the series, Raanta or Shesterkin?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Igor, but I mean, I'm not sure because I mean the goaltending has been solid. Don't get me wrong, low goals, but neither of these teams are getting a ton of shots on net. So I think we got to give some credit to the defensemen on the ice as well.
I think that's a really good take. I agree that Igor is better, but I think the Canes will win the series. I think they're going to definitely take Game 5 at home, and they're either going to win 6 on the road or 7. I really do like the Canes. I don't know if they could beat the Lightning, but I think the Canes and Rangers, both teams are worthy, and I'm rooting for the Rangers. That overtime game in the last series of the Rangers where Panarin scored the game winner was utterly insane. Was that Game 7, I think?
Yeah, it was.
I'm a huge Panarin guy ever since he was on the Hawks. Let's move to the West. The battle for Alberta, Oilers-Flames, is 3-1. I was hoping it would be 2-2. And Connor McDavid is playing the best he's played in the playoffs ever, no doubt.
For sure.
Luke, do you have anything to say on?
Let me mention, Connor McDavid hasn't even had a goal in the past 2 games, and he's still playing out of his mind. He's dishing the puck out to his teammates. He's getting shots on goal, and he's attracting a lot of attention with these defensemen. So, I mean, he may not be scoring the puck, but, I mean, he's playing better than anybody. He's the best player in the league, and I think that the Oilers go ahead and win Game 5 to win the series in 5.
Yeah, the Flames are a good team, and they really underwhelmed me. In Game 4, they tried to stick with it. They had a lucky goal, which was utterly insane, to tie the game at 3. But the Oilers have proven they're a better team, and Connor McDavid is known to be a speedster and a scorer, but as Luke just said, he has proven that he can do much more than that. Last game, he almost had a goal, but it turned into an assist. So McDavid's really impressing me. I agree that they'll take it in 5 at home.
I mean, look, the Flames could barely beat the Stars. I mean, Ottinger was looking like the best Henny in the league out there, but the Stars are terrible. Like,
I mean, we just had a debate on that. I don't think Ottinger's top goalie in the league, but he's
maybe
up
not
there.
the top, but he's 22 years old. He's got a big future ahead of him. But, yeah, I mean, the Stars are a terrible team, and it took them 7 games to beat them. So
I'd take Shesterkin over him any day. But shout out Johnny Gaudreau. He's having a decent series. He should be doing more, in my opinion. But the Flames are really just underwhelming. And one of my favorite players in the Flames, I just want to shout out, is Blake Coleman. Used to be on the Devils, so I used to hate on him a lot. But he won a cup with the Lightning, so his experience, I think, is going to have to show through if they have a chance in the series. Last one, Avalanche 3, Blues 2. Brandon, anything?
I just think the Avalanche have looked like a really good team. With that being said, the Blues did have a good win in Game 5, and I think that was definitely a statement game for them, but I have the Avalanche winning in 6.
Yeah, I thought the Avalanche would be playing much better in the series, honestly. The Blues have proven a lot to me. I thought they were like a nothing team, especially when Jordan Binnington went out with an injury, their goaltender. I thought they would be screwed, but they clawed back, scored a goal with under a minute to tie it in Game 5, and then won it in overtime. The Avalanche will do away with them, and the Avalanche are underwhelming me a bit, but they're still my Stanley Cup pick. Luke, do you have anything before you head out?
You know, as my lacrosse coach once told me, the worst thing that you can ever give an opposing team is hope, and the Avalanche did that last night. So, I mean, I personally believe that the Avalanche are the best team in hockey right now, and I don't see them losing this series, but I think it could be close. I think it could go to 7 with the hope they just gave the Blues.
And who you got in the Cup?
I'm going to have to go with the Lightning. I mean, I'm seeing the three-peat. They're hot. They swept the President's Cup winners. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the three-peat and the Lightning.
I'm sticking with Avs over Lightning. I got to stick with it. Thank you for joining us, Luke.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, so we're going to hit some baseball and some football soon, but first I'm going to hit 30-second on the Pga Championship. It was a horrible tournament for 3 days and 17 holes, and we had Mito Pereira, a young 22-year-old Chilean golfer. He was up a shot going into the easy final hole, and he just hit one into the water. He said his body gave out, and it was one of the epic collapses in golf, and we got to see, because of it, Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris in a playoff. Go watch that playoff if you can, if you haven't heard anything about it. Young, great golfer in Will Zalatoris, proven champ in Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas came out on top after a 3-hole playoff. But I just want to say Will Zalatoris is coming. He said he's coming, and he is going to be a top golfer for years to come.
For sure. Let's get into another 30-second real quick. Something, nothing, or everything. This is something that we've been doing ever since the beginning of Pga Sports Talk, so I'm happy to have it back. I'll introduce these topics. You give me your opinion, then I'll give a brief opinion. Let's start with the Nets admitting they're unwilling to offer Kyrie a long-term deal. Something, nothing, or everything.
So I still have trouble believing this is true, honestly. If it's true, it's everything that they won't give him a long-term deal. And everyone's starting to say this could lead to the Nets unraveling completely. If KD's there because of Kyrie. If Kyrie goes, because the Nets won't give him a long-term deal, which is valid, or if they trade him, I don't know how happy KD will be. And I think we're starting to see, slowly, I don't want to be too early on this, the end of Kevin Durant's career. He has not performed in the playoffs with Brooklyn. He did last year, but this year he underwhelmed. They lost James Harden, which was supposed to be what made them a super team. If Kyrie's gone too and he goes, we're going to see Kevin Durant's fourth team now. Not in a lot of years, but still. He's aging. I think Kevin Durant, I'm not confident anymore he's going to get a title. Another title.
I personally think, just before I get to my opinion, I think Kevin Durant is starting to focus just as much on what he's doing on the court as off the court now. You see a lot of things from him just about business. I think that's an interesting thing I want to look at. I don't think his mind is necessarily always on basketball as it used to be. That's not a diss on him by any means. It actually might be praised because he's focusing more on his business ventures. But I agree. I think it's everything because this could be the end of a team that was expected to be a dynasty. And look what they've achieved. They had a great, one of an all-time great playoff series, but they didn't win anything.
I mean, the sad part is I don't know if it's his business ventures. LeBron has all these business ventures happening. Kyrie, when he is off the court, things happening. It's for his, social justice. Yeah. Kevin Durant seems to be just social media beef that's on his mind. He can't get the trolls out of his head.
I mean, that is partially true, but also I do feel like you see a lot of things. He admitted later on that mind you, this might not be even true, but he said that one of the main reasons he went to Golden State was just to be in San Francisco and invest in up-and-coming tech companies, so who knows? That might
he went there to get a ring. I still can't applaud him for doing that. Kevin Durant's always going to have a mark on his legacy in my mind. Let's move on to baseball. We're going to get two baseball things into something or nothing. So the New York Yankees, first team to 30 wins. They're at 31 right now. They're playing well. They played especially well a month ago. Now they're back to mediocre. But Giancarlo Stanton, Aroldis Chapman, DJ LeMahieu, and Josh Donaldson, who just had some controversy around calling Tim Anderson Jackie Robinson. We're not getting into that too much. It was a couple days ago. But what I do want to ask you is it something or nothing that these guys went on the IL?
It's definitely something. I mean, you look at it, this for a long time, not a long time, but a pretty long time, this was the hottest team in baseball. And you look at it now, and they lost many of their rotational guys, many of their their better players. And their schedule for the next few weeks doesn't look to be too easy. I mean, they just got swept by they took a game from the White Sox, but they just, lost, I think, 2 or 3 games to the White Sox. So this is definitely something because they're going up against Tampa, then Los Angeles, then they have a few games against Detroit, then Minnesota. So these are some hard games, and they need to be winning these games if they want to just keep cementing them.
And Tampa's 4.5 games back them in the division. That's a lot, but Tampa could sweep them.
Yeah.
And this is something, it's so early in the year. We don't know what's going to happen, but the playoffs are getting increasingly hard to get into in baseball. And if the Yankees seem to unravel late season often, so they need to stay hot right now, capitalize and build a big lead going into the big stretch of June and July where teams start to really separate themselves or fall into the pack. So I think it is something. The reason it's hard to get into the playoffs is because you're in a division with teams like Tampa, Toronto, and the Boston Red Sox. So I'm going to talk about Boston. Trevor Story was looking like they overpaid him for the first month of the year, and then he absolutely caught fire. He's hitting, I think, 320. He had a 3-home-run game against Seattle last week to win them that game. But Boston is still 20-23. So, Brandon, is Trevor Story's hot streak something, nothing, or everything?
I think it's something because during the time of his hot streak, they went on a 6-game win streak, and it really did, like Luke said, it gave the team some hope. It felt like they were kind of just I don't like to almost burnt out, but it felt like there wasn't it felt like they had almost given up. And the truth is, Boston should be a contender. They have Bogarts. They have, who am I forgetting right now?
Trevor Story, Rafael Devers.
They have a ton of guys who've looked pretty good all year, and JD Martinez. So I think that they should be having a better year than they are.
I debate giving this nothing because I don't think the Red Sox are making the playoffs. Like I said before the season, they're a sleeper team to watch. But they've already fallen behind. The wild card race is so tight, and they're just not playing up to level. But Trevor Story's play specifically has to be something because it kind of justifies them giving him this money. And I think this season is all about, is this Xander Bogaerts last year with the Red Sox? I was out in Boston listening to the sports radio, and all they talk about was outside the Bruins was, does Trevor Story's signing mean Bogaerts is going to go? And I think that's the story of the season. I don't think they're expected to necessarily win, but it's all about watching. Is Story going to stay at second and they'll re-sign Bogaerts and kind of start to build up this dynasty again? Or is it going to be let Bogaerts go, rebuild with Story? So I want to see what happens there. Let's shift to the NFL. One last something or nothing. Out of the blue yesterday, Colin Kaepernick is working out with the Las Vegas Raiders. Brandon, is that something or nothing?
I think it's somewhere between something and nothing because the truth is he's had a few of these workouts with quite a few teams. and it's never really led to something. But with that being said, because it's Colin Kaepernick, and he's such a massive figure just in the NFL and just the world as a whole, I think it has to be considered something, or at least it has to be a factor.
So I'm going to kind of go into the whole Kaepernick thing right here. Just give me 1 minute.
Go ahead.
I don't think we've talked about Kaepernick much. And what I want to say is his blackballing from the NFL was shameful by the owners. Yeah. He was a top quarterback and didn't get a chance to play because he kneeled for the anthem. And the only team who wanted to give him a chance was the Seahawks, and they didn't have room. So I think that in 2016, Colin Kaepernick should not have been blackballed by the NFL. Absolutely. That is a for sure 100%. He could have been great. It's 2022. He hasn't played in 6 years, and there's a lot of debate over the workouts he was offered a year or two ago, where the NFL set up a whole workout for him, and then he didn't go and had his own workout and didn't look as good. And he was throwing balls to receivers without any defense, and he was doing it at a high school, and there were less scouts. And people can hate on him as much as they want for that, but regardless of his play there or not, he hasn't played in 6 years. And I'm a big advocate for, if you haven't played in a sport for a while, you deteriorate. And that's what I was talking about with Michael Thomas, who's been hurt for 2 years. And that's what I'm talking about with Desean Watson's play in a few minutes. But Kaepernick, it's great they're giving him a workout. I think all he asked for was a chance. And he's saying, give me a chance. If I play well, give me a spot. So I think it's actually valid that they're giving him a workout, as a lot of people would say they're not. If they give him a roster spot is where it might come into question, are there better guys out there? Are there undrafted free agents who are young and have been playing football nonstop, and who knows with Kaepernick? But what it all has to come around to is at least they're giving him a chance, because he should have had a chance 6 years ago. I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think he's going to necessarily play insanely well because he hasn't played in so long, and I think he's 34 now. He's up there in age, but I think it's a good thing they're giving him a workout. So I will say though, play-wise, it's nothing. He's a backup quarterback. Who knows if he's going to be good? Who knows if he's even going to be signed? But politically and in the environment of the NFL, it's something.
For sure. I'm going to quickly get to an NFL-related 30-second. There's an upcoming golf match between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen versus Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be going down June 1st at 5 p.m. Central Time in Las Vegas, Nevada. I personally have Brady and Rodgers. I'm going with experience for mine. And also Tom Brady posted a video of him getting a hole-in-one.
It was fake. It was fake.
I mean,
I don't know what's with Tom Brady. That throwing the football into the machine, and now this golf hole in one. It was so fake. If you see the ball on the green, it's huge. Come on now. Can't be falling for that. I'll take Brady and Rodgers because they got Brady. I don't know if I trust Rodgers playing, but this match got us thinking. And by the way, about the match. Yeah. Stop doing it. The original The Match was Tiger and Phil. And then they had, I think it was Tiger and Brady versus Phil and Mahomes. Yeah, Phil and Peyton Manning. I don't know what it was. That was interesting, but you can't keep branding it as The Match again. Viewership is going to go down, but I guess kind of interesting to get these four guys together. For sure. It got us thinking. Who are the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL? So before we go, Brandon, I want us to have a quick top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL debate. You start.
How do you want to do this? Just me go through my 10, you go through yours, or 1, 1, 2, 2?
We go 1, 1, 2, 2.
All right, my 1, the two-time defending MVP, and one of the members of the team I think is going to win the tournament, Aaron Rodgers.
I agree.
Okay, perfect. My 2, another member of this golf tournament. You'll see. Okay, I'm not even going to say that anymore because my top 4. My number 2, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you look at the guy. He's all the tangibles. I think this year is going to be a huge prove-it year for him. He's losing one of his biggest weapons. But I think, speaking on talent and talent alone, Patrick Mahomes is that guy.
Why Mahomes over Brady?
My one thought was, with this, I'm just going off based on pure talent and tangibles. I agree.
You're not going. I thought it was play.
I mean, I was just going off talent.
So Tom Brady doesn't have talent now?
No, I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm just saying, if you look at the things Mahomes has, he's a good runner. He's a great deep ball. There's
Tom Brady, without a doubt, played better last year. Last year, if you're remembering, the MVP conversation was Rodgers or Brady, and it was, is Mahomes the same guy? And he's losing a weapon, which will be a big prove-it year for him. I've been a fan of Mahomes in the GOAT conversation for a long time. But Tom Brady has played better than him without a doubt last year.
Going off
the year before he beat him in the playoffs.
Explain to you. I'm just going off sheer talent and output.
I mean, if we're going off talent, I would put Kyler Murray above Tom Brady because Tom Brady's 44.
We'll get to that.
So do you have who? Okay, keep going.
My 3, Josh Allen, another one of those guys, just an up and comer.
So who's your 4?
My 4 is Tom Brady.
So how do you have Tom Brady over Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson if you're going
based
off
his output? Based off his output.
So if it's output, why do you have Mahomes over Brady?
I'm going off talent output. I'm thinking about it like this. I'm thinking of multiple factors here: output, situation, talent. just overall.
I think in everything except for like if you write out their skills, I would have Brady over Mahomes. The only way you could put Mahomes over Brady is like he can run, he can make more exciting plays. If you look at their play last year, if you look at their play in the playoffs, if you look at how well they've performed and head to head and in the league, Tom Brady, I think right now has to be ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Unless you're considering Tom Brady's 15 years older than him, Tom Brady can't run. If you're considering that, sure, you could put Mahomes' skill above him. But I think we're talking about top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL today. And right now, I don't think it's a debate that Tom Brady right now is ahead of Mahomes.
I feel like I'm also,
in the hierarchy.
Yeah, I can get behind that statement. What I'm saying is, off just like what I'm looking at, like you can almost argue Mahomes checks more of the boxes.
And what about with Josh Allen over Brady?
I mean, it's the exact, like, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are probably the two most similar quarterbacks in the NFL if you really break it down. They're two, like, larger guys, have good deep ball, good running, can really open up an offense in ways that certain guys can't on this list.
But, like,
the talent's off the charts with those
everything
guys.
about Tom Brady was better last year than Josh Allen, except career-wise, except for maybe his running.
This year, you have to remember Tom Brady like literally retired from football.
I mean,
but
we're not saying who's going to be better next year. If we're talking about a quarterback to build my franchise with, or my fantasy team, or who's going to be better next year, no doubt I take Mahomes and Allen. But top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, I don't think you could tell me right now Josh Allen's better than Tom Brady.
I mean, I just think if you're looking at it, right, like Tom Brady. Like, here's what I'm trying to say. Tom Brady has, like, all this talent around him, all this talent. Josh Allen, for a part
Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, but Stephon Diggs. But, like, you look at it, like, you could really make the case here that Godwin, at times last year, played better than Stephon Diggs. And
he was hurt.
He was wide receiver 2.
He was hurt.
At the beginning of the season, no, he wasn't.
I know, but they rarely had all their guys, and regardless of the talent around them. That's not necessarily factoring in so much because Josh Allen also had talent around him. And I will say Brady had a better O-line, no doubt. But Brady had a better year than him, and I don't think you could debate that. Let's move on. I also have Mahomes 3, Josh Allen 4. Let's start at 5. Rand, you could go first.
I personally have Desean Watson. Just based, obviously it's a risky pick, but this is largely based on the fact that the last time we saw him with any type of competence around him, I'm not including his last year in Houston as competence because, let's be honest, that team was a joke and he still brought them a decent year. He was in the AFC Championship with a team who, when he left, became the laughingstock of the NFL. This is a guy who's made the most of bad situations throughout his career. And I think, just again, off sheer talent alone, this guy has what it takes. With that being said, he hasn't been on the field in 2 years, so I'm acknowledging that this is a risky pick.
You know, I'm not going to be so hard on you with this one because I do think that we probably have different things in our mind for top 10 quarterbacks, but Deshaun Watson hasn't played in a year. I don't know what he's got. He's on a new team. And if I was ranking top 20 quarterbacks, I'd put him somewhere, but I could not, in my head, put him above Joe Burrow, who just went to the Super Bowl, put him above Justin Herbert, who just had a career year, put him above Super Bowl champion Matthew Stafford, and then I started debating Deshaun, Kyler, Dak, Russ, Lamar, guys like that.
You understand my logic, though.
I understand your logic, but I think we're not going off who are we going to start a franchise with. If it's who I'm going to start a franchise with, Deshaun Watson's 3. Yeah. If I'm looking at everyone's skills, Deshaun Watson is 4. I am looking at who are the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL as of today, based on play last year, mixed with career play, mixed with if they're still in the NFL. And Deshaun Watson didn't play last year. I don't know what he's got. I don't know if he's going to play this year. And I just want to talk about the 2 women who came forward and started giving more details and talking about how the Browns are despicable for giving him a contract. I don't know if he's going to play this year, Deshaun Watson. And it's starting to get to a point where it's like he might not play again. There's a point where there's a moment of hope, but these cases are definitely legit, and they're coming for Deshaun Watson, and I think it's valid, and I condemn his actions. I don't know if he's going to play again, so I left him off my list just because there's so many question marks.
For sure.
My 5 is Joe Burrow. If you take away Deshaun Watson, we have Joe Burrow ranked similarly. Let's move on. My 6 is Herbert.
My 6 is Burrow.
So who's your 7?
My 7 is Matthew Stafford.
So I want you to rank for me Herbert, Stafford, Kyler.
Herbert, Stafford. Right now I have Stafford just coming off the Super Bowl win. It's really hard to knock the guy. He's been good on bad teams throughout his entire career. Next, Kyler and Herbert was a toss-up for me because you know how I'm doing this. I'm doing it on how they open up an offense, what they bring to a team. And I think Kyler's run game, I think Herbert has a superior arm, but Kyler's run game, I think you could argue, opens up more for the offense than Herbert's throwing, which is somewhat similar.
So I agree with your Stafford above Kyler. Stafford's Super Bowl champ.
Yeah.
I have Justin Herbert above Kyler and Stafford. Mm-hmm. Here's why. He played better last year. That's what it comes down to. He has more talent than Stafford, although he didn't play as well in the playoffs because he didn't get there, which is why I had trouble with Stafford versus Herbert. Yeah. I put him above him. I don't see putting Kyler above Herbert. I felt that Kyler played really well early in the year, but he had just as many weapons as Herbert. But Herbert played consistently well, and I'm not looking at who on paper do I like. It's not for me about this guy can run better than this guy, because that seems to me like what you've been doing for most of this list. I think Justin Herbert has a better arm, he has better accuracy, he's a better decision maker, and he's played better than Kyler last year. The year before was Herbert's first year, and they played similarly. So not only would I take Herbert this year, not only would I take him last year, but I also like his skills more. And if you're going off skills, then maybe it's a Kyler thing. But I think right now, once again, if we're looking at top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, I don't see putting Kyler above Herbert.
That's completely fair. Who's your 9?
I mean, why do you get it? I'm just wondering.
I mean, my thought process behind it is Herbert's still very young, and it's just kind of in question. People are forgetting that Kyler was the MVP frontrunner coming into week 6 of last year. They were the only team left undefeated. They were a Super Bowl favorite, and then he got hurt, and everything kind of fell apart. But when Kyler's healthy, people forget how high his ceiling is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he kind of choked late in the year. He kind of had those that horrible pass in the wild card game.
He was fighting to an injury, though.
Somewhat.
I'm putting grants on.
Okay, you can give the benefit of the doubt for him. I have 4 more quarterbacks I want you to rank. I'm kind of straying away from our top 10. Right. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr.
Okay, you said Lamar, Russell, Wilson. I'm just writing it down.
Okay, I'll give you mine first, because I see you have Lamar Jackson as your 10. For me, I had Dak Prescott at 9, Russell Wilson at 10, and before I even considered putting Lamar in, I would have Derek Carr.
Yeah.
So I put Lamar Jackson as my 4th on that list. How about you?
I personally have, right now speaking, and this was tough for me too, because I'm really high on Derek Carr. I've always been high on Derek Carr. You can look back at old episodes.
So I see you have Lamar as your 1.
Yeah, I have Lamar as my 1. Dak last year choked in the playoffs. He did not play well. Russell Wilson, with the team he was on last year, they were basically the laughingstock of the NFL.
Okay.
I mean, the expectation was they were going to make the playoffs, and they lost to the Bears.
Yeah.
That's really tough. That's why I got to take Lamar. Lamar is not given the benefit of the doubt by the media, and that's basically known at this point. He went from the media favorite to the guy who everyone swears just isn't a great quarterback, when the truth is the output and the production completely contradicts that.
So I think Lamar's good,
yeah.
But here's why I'm behind these guys. I think Dak is a better performer than Lamar. I think Lamar is insanely good. He's an MVP winner, but ever since Dak's hurt, first off, he's coming off an injury last year and still played better than Lamar. Lamar did not play well last year. He was hurt. I'll give him that, and I think he could have a bounce back year, but as of right now, I'd put Dak above him for the reason that at both their tops, I think Dak could be better, plus last year Dak was better. I put Russell Wilson above Lamar because he's more experienced. He plays a similar game to Lamar Jackson. I think Russell Wilson just knows how to win, and I can't see that in Lamar Jackson. Lamar's yet to win a playoff game. Russell Wilson had a bad situation last year, and he played through an injury. He still was fine. I compare his year last year to Lamar. That was a really tough one. Where I'm coming in with a hot take is Derek Carr over Lamar Jackson.
Derek Carr's a great quarterback.
Derek Carr is insanely underrated. Last year he had a career year. He led the Raiders to the playoffs and was competitive in a playoff game. I know I'm ranking this a lot on last year, but Lamar Jackson as best is better than Derek Carr at his best. I just don't know if Lamar can get to that level, and I think Derek Carr can still improve. So that's why Lamar's 4th, and I don't see the argument necessarily. I see the argument, but I do not see Lamar being the 10th best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Here's where I push back on the Derek Carr comment. You said he's extremely underrated. I think he was underrated last year. I think last year a lot of his production was going unnoticed. I think as his name continues to get thrown around in these conversations, he will become over it. I think it's starting. It has already started.
I can agree with you on Lamar over Derek Carr because at their best levels, I think Lamar is a lot better than Derek Carr.
But I think Lamar last year was playing better than Russell Wilson more consistently. I think Russell Wilson, people are forgetting last year, your fantasy team, not to diss you, your fantasy name was Let Russ Cook. You thought Russ was a dark horse MVP. Yeah. I thought Lamar was a dark horse MVP. We both missed on that. I'll admit. I'll drag myself down with you here. But Russell Wilson last year, just starting week 1 all the way throughout the season, whenever he played poorly.
That's true, but I still have to put him over Lamar Jackson just because Lamar played nearly as poorly as him last year. They're both hurt, and at Russell Wilson's best, he wins more than Lamar. So when we're talking about top 10 quarterbacks, I put him there. We're going to leave that conversation there. We're going to, trust me, there's a lot to NFL to get to before the season even starts. Brandon, one last thing before you go. French Open, first and second rounds are underway, and they're done, so third round's underway. Who you got winning the men's and women's draws?
For the men's, I have Djokovic. You want to go for men's or not?
Yeah, sure. It's on clay, so I will be taking Rafael Nadal. Rafael Nadal is the best clay court player in tennis history. He's won a lot of French Opens, and I was tempted to take his Spanish friend, Carlos Alcaraz, who just had a huge comeback win the other day. It was inspirational, but I will stick with Nadal.
Yeah, I personally, I don't want to say Djokovic is like an underdog, but in this type of environment,
I don't trust it.
Nadal's the
guy on clay.
The French Open.
How about women's?
Women's, I
want to see you say his name.
I always botch her name.
Iga Swiatek.
Yeah, Swiatek.
She is the best player in tennis, so I don't blame you for betting on her.
Yeah.
Before the tournament, odds on FanDuel,
Yep.
Iga Swiatek was favored over the field.
Yeah.
There's 64 women in this tournament, and Iga Swiatek's favored over the field. She has won over 30 matches in a row. She's nearing a record for that. She's favored, and 5 of the top 10 women in the world have already been eliminated, including Emma Raducanu. The path is easier. She's the best player in tennis right now, and she's going to hold a reign over women's tennis for a while. She has taken over. Iga Swiatek, at 20 years old, has taken over women's tennis. Shout out to her. We don't get to tennis enough, in my opinion. I know you might disagree with me on that.
I mean, I just wish I was I wish I watched tennis more.
It's hard to get to the French Open, especially when we have school, hockey, basketball, and the French Open's played at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening in. We only got a couple episodes left before we break for summer. Season 3 next year is going to be crazy, but we will still be producing content over the summer.
Absolutely, yeah. Make sure to just keep tuning in, watch our clips, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.